Hi, I'm Todd Henderson. Today I want to show you how to install the Gator roll-up cover on the 2009 to 17 body style Ram pickup. Now, if you'd like more information, click on the info button or visit the link in the description. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so what we're going to start with is a passenger side rail. Driver side rail is going to install the exact same way. Now, when we locate the passenger side rail, we're going to have at the very front that faces towards the cab, we'll have an oval hole and a rectangular hole in the actual rail. That's how we know what side is the front. So on the back side that faces towards the bed cap, we're going to have a seal that goes up against that bed cap, and then the Velcro is going to be facing towards the top. Now with the tailgate closed, I'm going to lift it up and put it up against the bed cap, centering the end of the rail between the tailgate and the bulkhead. We also want to make sure that the edge of our seal is right up to the top of the edge of the bed cap. Once we have that in place, what we're going to do is we're going to take a squeeze clamp, just temporarily clamp it to the bed cap. Now I'm starting in the center of the rail. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of the clamps and spread it apart. One thing you notice about these clamps is the side that has the nut will be on top of the other side. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that clamp and slide it up into the rail, and you'll see the grooves in the clamp will mate up to the grooves in the rail. We're also feeling behind the bed cap, making sure we're not hitting any kind of obstructions on the opposite side. Once we've got it in place, we're going to hand tighten it, and then we're going to take a 1/2-inch wrench or ratchet and then tighten it down all the rest of the way. Now a key thing to remember with this style of clamp is you want to make sure that clamp stays seated into those grooves. So you want to hold that clamp while you tighten it down. We can go ahead and move to the next clamp. All right, now I'm going to the tailgate end. What I'm going to do before I attach my second clamp is I'm going to actually raise up the rail because it's kind of gravitated down away from the top of the bed cap. We want to make sure that the top of the seal stays even with the top of the bed cap. Now again, we're going to loosen up the clamp. I'm going to set it in place. Again, make sure there's no obstructions in the back that's hindering the ability of the clamp to grab a hold. Tighten it down first by hand. Hold it in place and then tighten it down. Our last clamp is going to go towards the front, and we're going to do that the exact same way. Now we're going to want to get that about 6 to 8 inches from the bulkhead. Again, make sure that the rail is either lifted up or lowered down. Just make sure it's even with the top of the bed cap, and loosen up the clamp and install it exactly the same way you installed the last two. Make sure there's no obstructions behind the bed cap, and then tighten it down while you're holding it in place. Repeat the same process on the opposite side. Let me go ahead and show you how to install the tension block. Now this is going to be facing towards the bulkhead right here. Now if you notice up on top, you've got one little block that says 4 and 1. Those are your tension adjustments. So right here, this is set to 4. If I were to turn it around, it would be set to 1. Now if I turn it upside down, this is set to 3. And turn around here, this is set to 2. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to set it to 4. This is going to be our loosest tension setting. So this is going to drop down through the rectangular hole, and then we'll have this pin that goes through the front hole to hold it in place. All right, now I've got it set to 4. I'm going to do the exact same tension on the driver's side. All right, now we're going to go ahead and set our tarp assembly on top of our rails. Now what we're going to notice is we've got a rubber flap here that as we roll this forward, that rubber flap is going to face towards the cab of the truck. We're also going to have a couple of bolts that float back and forth inside the rails. Those bolts need to line up to the oval holes in the rails when we drop it in place. So I'm just going to take, roll it in place. All right, now as that drops in, the head rail is going to go right in front of our spacer block we just installed. And we're going to take our spacer washer, run it up through that bolt, and then we're going to take our nylock nut, we're going to thread that into place and do this on both sides. Once we've got that in place, we're going to take our 9/16, preferably use a deep well socket, or you can use a wrench, ratchet wrench, whatever is best for you. Now we're going to tighten this up, but we don't want it over tight. We want it just tight enough where it holds it down to the rail, but not so tight that it can't move along the rail with a little bit of force. Now this has the perfect amount of tension. It's held nice and tight, but we can still move it back and forth along that rail if we push nice and tight. All right, now we're going to go ahead and check the tension setting on the tarp. This is also a great time before we pull tension on the tarp. We want to make sure that the tarp is nice and centered on the rails. This is doing great. If not, I'd shift it back and forth to make sure it was centered. Now I'm just going to roll it back towards the tailgate. And then latch it into place. I'm going to fix the Velcro on either side. All right, now the tension is okay on this. If I wanted to make it a little bit tighter, that's no problem. I just roll it back up to the bulkhead, then I'll remove the tension blocks and turn them to the next tension setting and check the tension there. If the cover starts to sag, or if season changes causes the cover to relax, I can use that tension block to adjust the tension setting. Well, that concludes the installation. If you have any questions, click on the info button or visit the link in the description.